we will narrate onto them. قَصَّ يَقُصُّ is to go out of your way to narrate something elaborately. You know, like haka is to tell a story. Qassa is to tell an elaborate story with great detail, with fine-tuned details. Also to tell it in a very compelling way. Allah says, we will narrate onto them. Now question is, what's He going to narrate? Their own life stories. And you know, for a criminal, their biggest escape is, you know, these are all lies, he wasn't there, this is all made up against me. Allah says, bi'ilmin. We will narrate these stories onto them. We will tell them their stories in great epic detail, based on knowledge, with proper footage, with great records and documentation. وَمَا كُنَّا غَائِبِينَ. And we weren't absent at all. You know, this ghiyaba is an interesting word. It has dimensions, and that's the nature of language. You can't take words in a language, any language for that matter, and just give it one flavor and that's all it means. It doesn't work like that. Allah says, for example, مَنْ خَشِيَ الرَّحْمَنَ بِالْغَيْبِ. مَنْ خَشِيَ الرَّحْمَنَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Whoever was afraid of the extremely merciful in the unseen. Now what is the in the unseen referring to? Well, on the one hand it refers to the fact that Ar-Rahman is in the unseen. It also refers in that ayah to the fact that the one who feared Allah while that person was unseen from others. To display your fear before, in the masjid, in congregation is one thing. To display your fear of Allah while you're by yourself, unseen from all other eyes, that's genuine fear of Allah. So bil-ghayb works both ways. But I want to refer to the first, when the bil-ghayb refers to Allah. Ghaba yaghibu means to not be seen, and from that the implication is someone who is not present. Like you have the expression in attendance, man ghaba khaba. Whoever was absent missed out. Whoever was absent lost. They're lost, right? Man ghaba khaba. So ghaba is, on the one hand it means what you cannot see, but also means absent. But that's by implication it means absent. It's not literally absent, but it's by implication absent. Now, Allah is of course, He's ghaib to us. In other words, He's unseen to us, He's in the ghaib to us. But at the same time He says, وَمَا كُنَّا غَائِبِينَ. But actually, even though I'm unseen, that does not mean that I am what? Absent. I'm not absent. We weren't absent at all. We were not absent at all. That's why we knew. وَالْوَزْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ. And by the way, it's really interesting, the continuation of the conversation from Surah Al-An'am. The whole point in Surah Al-An'am is they cannot accept a faith in which they cannot see. They cannot see. Allah says, you couldn't see me, but that doesn't mean I wasn't there. I was always there. وَمَا كُنَّا غَائِبِينَ. وَالْوَزْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْحَقِّ. The weighing scale, the weighing, the measure, on that day is in fact a reality. It is the reality, al-haq. Others have interpreted this phrase in different ways. Others have said al-haq here means truth is the only thing that will in fact be of weight. In other words, good deeds will have weight and bad deeds will be weightless. Truth, sincere deeds, based on faith, based on proper intention, they're the ones that are going to carry some weight. Everything else will be haba'an manthura. Khaffat mawazinuhu. The phrasing in the Quran is interesting, right? Their scales became light. Right? Or we took their deeds and turned them into scattered dust. Haba'an manthura. You know? This obviously scattered dust, like, you know, you see dust, those little fibers in the window. When you see sunlight coming in, you see little fibers flying in the air. Weightless stuff, right? Has no value at all. So that's one interpretation, that only truth and all actions and lifestyles based on the truth are actually going to carry some weight. Everything else won't. فَمَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. Then as for the one whose scales became heavy, and interesting, Allah says for one person, mawazin, not mizanuhu. ثَقُلَتْ ثَقُلَ mizanuhu. His scale became heavy. No, his scales became heavy. It's like the implication is there's so many kinds of deeds, and there's so many standards, and each of them is given their own precise due. Here's your scale for your prayers, here's your scale for your intentions, here's your scale for your speech, here's your scale for your laziness, etc., 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 your timeliness. Everything has a scale. Everything's been given its own measure, its own standard. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Then they're in fact the ones that are going to enjoy the ultimate success. وَمَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. And as for the ones whose scales have become light, khaffa from khafif. Khaffa yakhifu khafifan. Or khiffatan actually. فَهُوَ khafun. But really we use khafif. Okay, فَأُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ. Then they're actually the ones that have put themselves in loss. They've bankrupted themselves. بِمَا كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَظْلِمُونَ. On account of the wrong they've been doing with our miraculous signs, with